Hello. All right. Hi, I'm Melissa. This is my first ever knitting podcast and my first ever YouTube video for that fact. I actually completely filmed this entire video already yesterday. There was all this noise of my neighbor's cars beeping and everything, and it was just awkward. And so I'm refilming the entire thing today. So basically, since this is my first video, I thought as sort of an introduction, I would just go through everything I've made so far this year, with it being kind of halfway through the year, and then talk about some project plans that I have for the rest of the year. Okay, one sec. Also, I guess I should give some background. I've been knitting most of my life since I was about 7, but I've been knitting sort of consistently for the past 2.5 years, and into it. So the first thing that I completed this year was the Cozy Coco hood. This is a pattern by Kutowa Kika, and it's an all over sort of brioche stitch pattern that then has this little ribbed collar and 2 little double knit flaps that you attach a snap closure to, and a double knitted sort of hem, what do you call this, edge along the face opening of the hood, along with these really long double knit sort of ribbons that tie up into this huge bow. This took me kind of forever. This brioche stitch took forever, and then the double knitting took forever. It's also knit in Sandes Garn Tin Peer Gynt, this really beautiful bright red color. I was really inspired by her sample pictures in the pattern. It's all this beautiful sort of bright red, and I really wanted to knit something in sort of like an orangey red color, just something bright and nice for the horrible winters that we have here in Ontario. So that's that one. Okay, so the next project I completed is also a Kutowa Kika pattern. It's the Honey cardigan by her, and this is from a pattern from her book Knit This, which is, I believe it's her first book. I received the book for Christmas and I really wanted to knit something out of it. So this was a project that I made as sort of an outfit to wear. How can I show this? As an outfit to wear for my birthday. So it didn't take very long at all. It's knit in a half fisherman's rib, so it's actually so sort of thick and pillowy. It's beautiful. I knit this in 1 strand of Tilia by Filcolana, which is a 70% mohair and a 30% silk, and also Sandes Garn Sisu, which is a merino, fingering weight merino. She recommends a bulky weight yarn. I think she uses drops. What does she use? Drops Air, Drops Alpaca, something like that she uses for her sample. But honestly, I had gauged with this and I think it's fine. The only issue I ran into was a little bit of a tightness in the collar when I picked up stitches and knit the collar. But I just kind of had to undo it and knit again. This is a size small, and I ended up using 4 balls of each, I think 3 or 4 balls, and I was really playing yarn chicken with that. I think I have like not even anything left. It's just like, you know, cuts off from ends and stuff like that I have left of this yarn, but it's honestly the softest thing ever. I'm very sensitive to itchiness. Like, even knitting for Olive soft silk mohair is kind of too itchy for me to wear without something underneath. But this is so soft, the Filcolana, so worth it. It was kind of expensive, but worth it, I feel like. And then she also in the pattern has a tutorial for making sort of crochet covered buttons in the same yarn, but I really wanted wooden buttons, so that's what I chose to do. Oh, another issue I ran into was with the button band. I don't know, like the buttonholes were not working out well for me, and I ended up redoing that a couple times and just doing my own sort of pattern for that. But overall, I'm really happy with it. And it's a really nice, I feel like it's a nice color for spring. Okay, so awkward, just like in my house, talking to a camera by myself. Ugh. Okay, moving on. The next thing that I finished was the City Hiker beanie. This is a pattern by Milena Juhola, I think. Am I saying it right? I don't know. Somebody tell me if I'm saying it wrong. I knit this in Drops Air, which is 72% alpaca, 21% polyamide, and 7% wool. It's actually really nice and soft. I usually try to avoid synthetic fibers as much as possible, just because that's something I'm trying to do in my life. So if I'm going to make something myself, I might as well try to avoid it. But I really love this sort of like slightly tweedy, I don't know if you can see that, slightly tweedy green brown, and since it's just a hat, I don't mind so much that it has synthetic. It also makes it easier to wash. I ran into quite a few issues with this hat. It was small, so it was a fast project. I definitely got this done in about less than a week, I want to say, even with the issues. But basically, this is a top-down project. So you cast on, I think it's 8 or 16, I can't remember, 16 I think stitches, and you increase the hat using make one rights and make one lefts, which creates this really lovely shape, this sort of triangular pattern within the hat, which I really love. It's sort of simplistic, but it gives it a little something extra. And then once you're done the increases, you just kind of knit down, and then it has you knit a double knitted brim before attaching the ear flaps. So I knit all the way until I got to the brim, knit the double knitted brim, which was probably the longest ordeal within this hat, and then tried it on, only to find that it was teeny tiny on my head. I mean, this is already a small hat, that's the look of it, that's fine. I wanted that, but this was not even staying on my head. I mean, it was like slipping off. It's like I was trying to wear a baby hat. So what I ended up doing was ripping it back until I got to the end of the increases and knitting an extra inch compared to what the pattern has you knit, and then I just knit the brim as knit one purl one rib instead of doing the double knitting, because I just couldn't bring myself to do more double knitting at that point, and I also felt like it was restricting the stretch of the hat and maybe causing it to pull upwards. I did double knit the ear flaps, and even the ear flaps are a little on the small side. I haven't blocked this at all because it's a hat, but maybe I will give it a block just to stretch out these ear flaps a little bit and kind of stretch it out. But either way, I haven't been able to wear it out yet because I finished this when it was too warm for a beanie like this, but I am really looking forward to wearing it in the fall and winter once it gets cold enough. I kind of have a habit of that, of knitting winter projects in the summer and summer projects in the winter, which I don't know why I do that. And I only have one more project to share. This was definitely the biggest project I've completed this year. I am kind of I think I'm a slower knitter for sure. I'm an English thrower, which I don't know if that slows me down compared to continental. I can knit continental, I just kind of prefer English throwing, and I really don't mind so much about being super fast. I'm not, working to any deadlines for the most part, so I don't mind. It's fine. I enjoy it more when I English throw. But this final project that I completed was actually supposed to be a Christmas present, and I finished it a couple weeks ago, so months shy of Christmas, but you know what? It got done. It's fine. And this is the Esther Sweater Man version, and it's a petite knit pattern. I knit this in Sandnesgarn Tin Peer Gynt. Again, I really like that yarn. That is not the recommended yarn, and it's not the recommended like yarn weight either. I didn't realize this, but she in her pattern uses Peer Gynt, not Tin Peer Gynt, and Peer Gynt is the DK version of Tin Peer Gynt, which is the fingering version. So I ran into a couple issues, I think maybe because of that, with sizing. The armholes were definitely super tight. When I tried it on my husband, once I finished the body, they were super tight. Thankfully with blocking, it has stretched it out and kind of evened it out. And then when I put the sleeves in as well, the sleeves were looking super sort of puffy and big compared to the body. I don't know why, but anyways, it's actually really simple how you make this sort of diamond pattern. It's just knits and purls. And this sort of moss stitch along the side is just knits and purls. You knit it top down. First you do the back, I believe. Did I do the back first? Yeah, I think I did the back section first. Front section, knit down, attach under the arm, and then you just knit in the round for the rest of the body. And then you knit the sleeves in the round as well, same kind of way. You just pick up stitches around the armholes and knit that way. I did run into a major kind of issue with this neck. I probably redid this collar, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. I did it the way she recommends, first of all, which is to do a 1x1 rib, knit purl. Then you knit 3 rows of double knitting and then do regular ribbing again. And then the bind off is where I was having issues. So she has you sort of bind off and sew it down at the same time. And when I did this, it caused like 0 stretch. I couldn't get my head through it. Never mind my husband. Like it was terrible. So I ended up redoing it as sort of just like a single layer collar. I did not like the way that looked, so I tore it out again. And then this time that I did it, I did what she recommends until I got to the bind off section, at which point I did an Italian bind off and then sewed it down after binding off. And this has worked. There's a lot more stretch to it. It's a lot more comfortable for him to wear. He doesn't have to kind of, well, I think I also used a bigger needle in the end than what she recommends. I think she recommends a 3.5 and I used a 4. Which is what you use for the rest of the body, just to provide, you know, a little bit more ease for him to get into it. But it does fit him really nicely, and he's super happy with it. So that is the final project that I've completed so far this year. So I guess we'll get into plans for next year for the rest of the year. I have, I think, way too many things on my list that I can actually complete if I'm really looking at like what I've completed so far compared to how many things I'm looking to complete. But we can imagine, we can wish. So the first thing that's on my list that I think is going to be a really good stash buster is the Rad Radish Socks by Stone Knits. When I saw these, oh my god, they really called to me. I love radishes for some reason, like aesthetically. I just think they're so cute. I love radishes. What can I say? And these little radishes in the dirt, they just called to me. So I feel like I have to make those at some point. I do have some leftover Tin Peer Gynt from the Cozy Cocoa hood that I made that I can use for the red, and I'm sure I have some green yarn and a little bit left over from the Esther sweater, so I can scrounge some yarn together. I might have to buy some brown yarn, but other than that, I think I can have this be a complete just like stash project, which would be great. The next one on my list is actually a second City Hiker beanie. I want to make this but in a red color. And I think I might make it without the ear flaps. I'm gonna make it for my husband. So I'm gonna have to do some adjustments. It's definitely gonna have to be a little bit bigger because his head is bigger than mine, and this just fits on my head. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna knit it without the ear flaps and see if he wants the ear flaps. And then if he wants them, I'll add them in. But I think I'm gonna definitely make some adjustments to make it a little bit on the larger side. But I think a bright red version of this would be so cute. I don't know. They just give me like a little bit Wes Anderson vibes. And then we could wear them at Christmas and we'd be like red and green. So cute. To keep with the whole hat thing, I actually do already have the yarn for this, but I want to knit beanie number 6 by My Favorite Things. And I have these 2 yarns. This is a random cone of yarn that my mom actually gave to me. So she knits as well. She actually is really good at knitting on a knitting machine. And so she has a ton of different cones of yarn that she's had probably since the 90s, actually. So I have no idea what the composition of this is, but it's a boucle, and I think I'm going to try and hold 2 strands of this for the sort of brim area of the beanie number 6, and then pair it with Sandusgarn Double Sunday for the top section of the head. And I think I want to make this, I've seen a couple people like on my Ravelry do it where on those increased sort of knits that stick out, they use the boucle to make it look even more like a sheep skin, like shearing hat, like the fluff is coming out. And I kind of want to try to do that, I think. We'll see how it goes. What else do I already have yarn for? Oh, the Clematis sweater. Clematis? That sounds wrong. Sweater. This is a pattern by Emma Meyer? Oh my god, I'm really butchering all of these words. Why didn't I look this up before? But this is a sweater that I'm planning to make as a replacement for a sweater that I purchased. It's not handmade, but I love this sweater so much, and I used to work at a movie theater, and so basically every single item of clothing that I own is covered in butter stains, this sweater included. So I would love to make, it's actually a cardigan, I guess, it's buttoned down, a replacement for that. And I picked up this yarn a little while ago. I've never seen it before. It's called Lanis du Nord. It's made in Italy, and it's their Baby Soft Natural line. And so this is made of 50% cotton and 50% soybean fiber, which I've never come across before, and it is so silky, smooth, and soft. It really feels like it has silk in it, but it doesn't. It's, I think, the soy. I've never felt like a soy fiber yarn or garment before, but I'm really amazed. I don't think I'm gonna hold this with anything because I'm really not looking to have like a halo or a fluff with this pattern. I just want it very simple and sleek to match as much as possible the sort of feeling of my original sweater. And I think this might be the next thing that I cast on. All right, that's already like more things than I've knit in half a year, so we're not getting to all of these. But the last thing I want to talk about is vest number 1. So this is another My Favorite Things pattern. I have a plan for this. I don't just want to knit the vest plain. I came across pictures kind of recently of these fingerless gloves that this company, I think they're called the Knitting Shed, I think that's who makes it, makes, and they're fingerless gloves that look like Monet's water lily paintings. They're so beautiful. And from what I understand, they hand dye the yarn so that as you're knitting, it variegates and creates sort of the pattern and the colors of the water lily paintings. And then you embroider on top of those with the details of the sort of willow leaves falling down and the beautiful lily flowers. So I want to use that as inspiration to create a vest. And with that, I also recently picked up this natural undyed fiber. So it's 60% wool and 40% mohair. So it does have a little bit of a sort of halo to it, just a little bit. And it is quite soft. It's worsted weight, which is what the pattern calls for. But what I'm sort of considering, I have a lot of questions right now about how this project is going to work. Well, a lot of ideas and a lot of questions are coming up. So I'm wondering whether I should attempt to dye the yarn before knitting so that as I knit, it does that sort of variegation thing and knits up in the colors that I need. Or should I dye it afterwards? Sort of paint it and dye it afterwards. I don't know. I mean, I guess if I were to dye it beforehand, I would need to knit up a swatch so that I would know how far the yarn is going to go and how much of each color variation I need to dye. I feel like it would be easier to do it after the fact, but then are the dyes just going to all bleed into each other and create a huge mess? Or has anyone ever painted with dye onto a knitted object? If you have, please tell me. So that's kind of, I guess, like the bigger project, since it is a little bit more experimental. That's one of the bigger ones I'm planning. And then another big one that I'm planning that I don't even know if I'm going to get to this year, to be quite honest, is a self-drafted sweater. So I've never drafted my own pattern before, but I really want to, and I have a very clear idea of what I want to do. So this would be for my husband. Again, I feel like knitting patterns for men are maybe a little bit more simple because you generally don't have to worry so much about the shaping. I mean, yeah, there's no need for German short rows or anything like that. But my idea, I should tell you my idea first, is to knit a sweater, a colorwork sweater that has sort of like a medieval woodcut style dragon on it, or knight dragon, kind of transcript scroll looking situation. I'll put some pictures of what I'm thinking, but that on the front of a sweater, and I'm thinking either in like a deep burgundy maroon sort of color or a nice sort of forest green, because those are his two sort of favorite colors to wear right now. And I'm thinking that would look really nice if I did the color work portion in sort of like an undyed cream sort of color. So that's the idea. I think that's going to be kind of a long haul project, but it's in my mind. We'll see if I get to it. I think I've been a little bit too ambitious. I mean, let's see, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. So I've completed 5 projects so far, and I have 6 planned, 2 of which are quite large. So we'll see if I get there. I don't know. I mean, hopefully I'll continue making these podcasts and we can follow up with some of these projects that I'm planning. Yeah, like I said, I think the clematis sweater is my next victim, so we'll see how that goes. And who knows, maybe I'll change my mind about every single one of these projects and make something completely different. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you're making. Let me know your ideas. Let me know if you've hand dyed yarn before and how that went for you. All right, bye.